What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Smooth Ramblings with Holliwood Cole. Today we're going to talk a little NCAA football. Long time coming, and we got it happening today. And so, of course, I got to have the expert, the commissioner of our dynasty, the man that has been playing NCAA for the past couple decades at least, the expert, all-knowing lore master, and of course, knows all about the college football franchise. What's up, Mr. SwingingThunder?
Thanks for having me there, Holliwood Cole. But typically, I'm a very humble gentleman. But you missed a few things during the intro. From further on this podcast, on this topic, you shall refer to me as the GOAT or the Dragon, sir.
Oh, no. The GOAT or the Dragon.
Can I explain why I'm being called the Dragon?
Explain it for us, yes. You can explain it.
Well, I believe it was you who referred to me as the Dragon, but
yes.
Since you so eloquently in your last podcast I listened to explained to the audience that yourself as the Louisiana Raging Cajuns and Arkansas State, led by Mr. Chris Page, did defeat me last season, what the audience doesn't know is that we were screen sharing that with the entire conference watching said game, as everybody cheered loudly for every positive thing you did.
Oh, yeah.
And booed horribly, or more importantly, was very silent. So I went from being a very sportsman-like individual, and so the audience knows this is not typical Swinging Thunder, but I'm in my villain stage when it comes to college football now. I am Thanos. I am Skeletor. Yeah. I am Jenny from Forrest Gump. I am in the villain stage. Bring it on, haters. I don't care anymore. No more Mr. Nice Guy.
There you go. There you go. That's what happens. See, we had our dynasty, and so I've never played the game. So we're going to get into my thing too, right? So we started that, and right now it's me swinging, and Ian, which is swinging, and Coastal, which is Eric, and Chris Page. And he's playing Arkansas State. We got Apple. If you heard the last podcast, you'll hear our teams. You'll hear our teams. That's fine. We're doing Sun Belt. All right, Sun Belt Challenge. And Swinging Thunder is the commissioner there because he knows all the ins and outs. And his overall record is what, 92-7 or something ridiculous?
You're not giving me enough credit, sir. I do believe it's 126-6. Now I will give
126.
126 wins, 6 losses.
That's just since we started our dynasty.
Since the beginning of the dynasty. To your credit, I just got ranked in the top 25 toughest places to play. I only have 2 home losses through 8.5 seasons, and those would both be to the Raging Cajuns. So,
yeah,
tip of the hat, sir. Tip of the hat.
That's it. And so, appreciate it. It's a lot of fun. So, we've learned a lot, and we just learned a lot last night, and I just beat my team. Now, they were FCS, like 99-7. And the game got mad because I threw a bomb when I shouldn't have, and I scored. So then it had to, they had to do their little bit of a rubber band, which we'll talk about, but I'm sure. But anyway, so this NCAA football. So I got to prep the peeps here, if you guys aren't aware. So not a big sports fan. We don't talk a lot about sports games on the HnK Video Game Experience. Certainly not on the Smooth Ramblings either until now. So this is the first. And it is a worthy title to talk about because, as we'd mentioned, NCAA, they got the license back. If you're not tracking, what was it, the last one? 14, NCAA 14?
14, which means it was made in 2013, the year prior.
Yeah, so they got in trouble for using somebody's likeness, and so they said, okay, we're not making college EA, we're not making college football anymore. So when they finally got the names and likeness stuff happening, they allowed it to make the game again, and so we're like, okay, this is going to be there's two ways it could go. This is going to be the greatest thing ever, or this is going to be a huge cash grab. I personally was very skeptical it's going to be a cash grab. But it turns out they did a really good job. And me personally, go ahead first.
Well, what I was going to say is everything you said was true. I mean, if the people who want to know, it goes back to Ed O'Bannon, who was a player for UCLA, made a big stink about EA using that was for college basketball. But, I mean, we could get into that if you would like. But the The interesting thing about this particular game, so they've been wanting to make college football for about 4 years, I believe. And so speaking of NCAA 14, that community kept it alive. There was a bunch of modders who made what they called NCAA Revamped, and they would add all kinds of super cool things to it. They would update the rosters, not only every year, but kind of like how college football is doing it for real life, where every month or so they would update the ratings and stuff. And so props to EA, they reached out to like the top 3 or 4 guys who led that whole modding community, and they were like, yo, please come on and be consultants for us as we make this game. And between that, it was a much a love project, a passion project for the guys who made EA. And an interesting thing for me, as being a fan of Madden and college football, is the NCAA guys were kind of like the young upstarts, like the young developers, and like that was their way to show out. Like, yo, we're gonna move up in the company, so we're gonna do the very best we can with NCAA. Which, in my opinion, NCAA was a better game than Madden from beginning to end, across those entire series. But yeah, there was a lot of love put into this game, and anybody who is a college football fan, like if you're a State fan, as the two of us are, they've got the cowbells, they've got the traditions in the game, but for every fan, whether you're Air Force, Army, whether you're West Virginia, USC, all those little traditions at your school are shown in the game, and it gets boring after season 9 and you skip through it, but it's your first time seeing it. It's a really super cool thing that they do in the game.
Yeah. So, one of my favorite games of all time for sports-wise is Super Tecmo Bowl. That was like the last game, besides like Wayne Gretzky hockey's arcadey things, but, NBA Jam.
NBA Jam, yeah.
And like, and I'd said on the other podcast that, I got Madden 15 to see what all the, hype was about, and I couldn't even get past the tutorial, the part where you just had to run it like 5 yards, and I couldn't figure it out. And so I was like, man, I'm not going to waste my time. Now, you guys all got it, and I think we all got it at the same time pretty much. I mean, within a week or so.
Within a week or so, yeah, absolutely.
And so started this Dynasty, and that's been the most fun. So we can talk about our thing, but let's just talk about the game for a second. Let's just talk about some of the things they have in this game, first of all, and then we'll kind of go back and talk about some of the things that they used to have that may have been different, and just some information about the game. So the Dynasty is what we've been playing, and you pick a team, you can recruit, right? You have recruiting hours. You got a coach, which you mean you got to put skill points on if you want to be a recruiter, a motivator. There's all these different things you can do, different techniques, right? And if you recruit based on your play style, of course, every player has their own set of stats and perks and stuff like that. And so that's a lot of fun. 3, 4, 5 star, 2 stars, 1 stars, depending on how prestigious your school is, based on how many times you win, prestigious the coaches are, etc. Even proximity to home, some of the players might want to come to your school if it's better that way. So they all have their likes and dislikes about your school. So that's just one aspect of the Dynasty. Then, of course, you play each other, and you got to try to go to the college championship, which SwingingThunder's won every single year. Or did you win? You didn't win the first year.
Didn't win the first year, but you are speaking to, once again, the Dragon Goat, the 7-time consecutive champ.
Yeah. So where the Dragon came from is I almost beat him last year. I beat him in the regular season, but not in the actual. So we were like in the finals. We didn't go to the.
2 years ago, we were in the national championship against each other.
Okay, yeah, 2 years.
And then
ago.
last year, I think we were in the semifinals against each other, just the way the seeding and everything laid out.
Yeah, and so, and it's no joke. You make a mistake, you make a couple of mistakes, mental mistakes, you better be able to have the fortitude to come back, because you get nervous about these. It's just crazy. I don't even play it unless I'm playing the Dynasty, and I'm so like, hurry up, let's ready up, I'm ready to go play and try my thing out. And I forgot to pick custom playbook, by the way.
Oh, did you? I was going to ask you if you forgot.
Of course. And which you can customize your playbook, but you have to pick it, right? So we'll talk about some. We're going to get into the future of that too. All right, Dynasty is one thing you can do. Road to Glory. So what kind of some of the stuff you can do that you like in this one?
So the Road to Glory is an interesting take. It's been around for a while, going back to the previous iterations of the game. This one, it's a good foundation. This is actually the mode I think they did the worst job on, personally. It really feels like it's
Yeah.
a choose your own adventure script for your freshman year, and then it just kind of seems like it's just whatever after that. Like it's almost like they kind of make it like a story for like the first season. Like you get all these text messages, you get in trouble if you don't go to school, or did you cheat on a test, and it's like super cool the first year, and then it just kind of doesn't do much after that. So, there's some things missing. I don't know if you want to get into that or we go back to the past, but there's things missing from previous iterations.
Yeah, we'll go to that next. But,
yeah.
So that's one. You pick a guy, you pick a position, halfback, what quarterback, whatever you want to be, and it gives you, you got to keep your grades up, but you also got to train. If you're injured, you got to rest, and it throws you in there for random plays, right? Depending on.
Well, it depends on how well you. So you do a position battle. So like you have to fight your way to be a starter. So if you're not a starter, you'll get in when they decide to get you in. Maybe your team's blowing out the other team. They put the second or the third string in. And as Holliwood's saying, like you have to balance a bunch of stuff because is your health okay? And the other big thing since college football was around before is the NIL, the name, image, likeness, money that these college guys are making. So do you rest your bad arm as a quarterback, or do you go sign 7,000 autographs for 10,000 fans because it boosts up your popularity, but you just put yourself at a -5 throwing power for the next game because you didn't rest your arm. So you have to make, like I said, choose your own adventure choices when it comes to that. So it's an interesting concept and a decent foundation. I think that's the mode, like I said, I think it's lacking the most in this game, though.
Well, I will say this too. It's like it's almost like text based. It's obviously not just text based, but it's like, do you want to study? Click yes. Okay, you studied and you lost some it doesn't like show you doing this. You can't like really manipulate how well you do it other than the practice. You can
Correct.
actually do some practice. But if you want to go, your buddy's like, hey, you want to go, I got the answers to this test coming up. If you cheat or you lose like leadership points or whatever.
Well, you bring that up, and I think so there is some interesting little humorous things in there where it'll say something like, do you cheat on the test or do you study? And you cheat on the test and you think you got away with it, 3.5 GPA, and then like 3 weeks later it'll come back of you got busted on camera cheating, you're suspended for a game. Like you thought you got away with it and you didn't get away with it.
So, yeah. So that's that was not as in-depth as I'd like. I mean, it was okay, but again, that, and then you have, I know the big one, but what is the other one? This is the road to CFP playoffs.
So
it's just a regular season.
They have 2 different online modes. Actually, 3 different online modes, besides Dynasties. So there's Road to the CFP, which is basically you choose the teams as they are in the game. There's no manipulating anything or whatever, and you actually get bonus points, I think, with they tier up like Mississippi State, unfortunately, is horrible this year, so they're like a tier 4, versus tier 1, Ohio State. And so you make your way to the CFP, and you're kind of put in a group. It's skill-based matchmaking to a point. Like you go up in tiers as you do well. So that mode's, it's popular, but you are stuck with whatever the default teams are and the rosters as they are. And then you have Ultimate Team, that's the money grab for Madden and NCAA. That's where you pay for cards, like sports cards, and it's luck of the draw and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, that's kind of there. I didn't play a lot of that one, but it's like it's just Ultimate Team where you pay for packs and you open them, and it's like loot boxes.
Pretty much.
I don't understand it. I didn't even really get into it, and that's what you play online with. But I hadn't played a single person online other than people in the Dynasty. So, yeah, I can't really speak to that one. So, do you think this one overall? So, first of all, I love the game. I think they did a phenomenal job with it. I mean, it's hard to for the Dynasty, it's kind of hard to really. You kind of nitpick. There's obviously some mistakes. It's not perfect, but it's a game. It's made by human beings. It's the first time it's come up. It's on the new generation system. There's a lot of different details that might, so there might be a couple of bugs, a handful of bugs. I honestly can't think of a whole lot right now. Well, a few of them I can think of, but but that's okay. And there's some quality of life stuff that they'll probably update in the next one. But how do you kind of, what's your favorite one of all time, first of all?
Ooh, that's a tough question. So you're gonna laugh.
It's got to be NCAA. So if you're listening, so it's NCAA football.
So yeah, the history of it actually it goes back to college football. Bill Walsh '93, and then
the first.
that's the very first one.
Bill Walsh.
Bill Walsh, baby, college football.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head, I wish my boy Huff 2188 was on this one, but I think we will agree on this. I think the best one ever made, NCAA '06, for a couple of reasons. The whole impact
06.
player. You remember, in the last X amount of them, you see a star. If your guy's like a 90 overall or better, or they're like the best player on your team or whatever, they'll have a star. Well, NCAA '06 introduced that one, and it was like, I don't want to say special abilities, but it kind of was like that. So that was a year that they had, for the college football fans, Reggie Bush and the USC took on the Texas Longhorns and Vince Young. It was the game of the century for the national championship. And so both those teams, they used to have old retro teams in there, like the best of Texas all time, or they would have like the best, the '06 this team, the 2001 Hurricanes, the '94 Huskers, whatever. And so they introduced a lot of I think that might be the one that also did the Stadium Pulse, but back then you could hit L2, R2, and you could ramp up the crowd.
That's cool. I don't know why they would
and
take
make
that
it
out.
and make it shake. So it was a great roster per se, a lot of cool features that were added. And that was like at the end of the PlayStation 2's age, which I think you and me have talked offline. Like, I think PS2 games might have been like the apex of that perfect balance of fun plus simulation. Like, it was a really good mix of the two.
06?
'06.
Yeah, so the 360 was out by then.
Yes.
So that was, so that PS2 one was still what was everybody was. So could you play that online?
I believe you could. Yeah, I think
the network stuff by then.
So yeah, and like I remember more on the PS3 with that, but like what was dope about that, going back, now we're kind of mixing the thing that you wanted to split, but like going back to old features, it wasn't the PS2, I think the PS3, but the Dynasty. So as a commissioner, I could write news stories. So I would sit there, like, you know how I joke in our group chat and do that stuff? I could do that with a Sports Illustrated cover and post it in the Dynasty online. So when we advance the week, it'd be a Sports Illustrated, like you doing the Heisman on my dude, and it's like, Raging Cajuns, take down undefeated South Alabama 48-27, on the road. Are they ready for the national championship?
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And they had the impact players. Were they like significantly better? Were they noticeably better?
They were noticeably better.
Yeah,
and it was almost like a cheat code depending on who you had. Yeah, but the thing about it's a lot like now, where you basically you could homegrown your own impact players like we're doing now, and you would see that. And so like Reggie Bush is the one I would use. I don't know if he was a cover athlete. I think he was. But like when Reggie got going, and there was like a pulse under him, so not only was he impact player, but it was almost like he leveled up, and you would see him insert. And then on clutch situations, they would start glowing, so you knew like, yo, I gotta get the ball to Reggie Bush.
Dude.
Like I'm gonna throw a swing pass to Reggie Bush and just let Reggie Bush go be Reggie Bush.
Yeah,
and he'd break like 3 tackles and shake somebody or.
That's pretty cool. So then they did 7 next. Did it expound on that, or did it like start? When did they start taking stuff away? I guess.
Really, they didn't take anything away until this year. I mean, it was away for 11 years. So like, PS2,
Madden, they kind of did all that. Which won't
so Madden took a lot away.
Okay.
And I think you may have talked about this. There's a video for Madden, not college, but there's a video for Madden where there's like 94 extra features in PlayStation 2 Madden than the current Madden 20 years after the fact.
Yeah.
No, from '07 to about 12 to 13, they would tweak certain things. Some things would hit, some things wouldn't hit. A lot of people love NCAA 14, but I think it's more because it was the last one.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was kind of that scarcity thing. A lot of people would argue that actually 13 was the better game of the two. But I think '06, it was just they threw everything at the wall, and everything they threw at the wall that year stuck. Like it was like, this is dope, this is awesome, this is great. Like nothing they did in '06 was bad.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure the stuff's real running here good.
Oh, you're good, boss man.
Yeah, so yeah, like you said, so that's what threw me off because I forgot that, so they didn't really take anything out, and that was all the way up to 14. But then Madden's, they start saying, "Hey, we're the only game in town. We can take stuff out," and that's the same EA. At some point in EA history, I think they got like most hated company ever, like 2 or 3, at least 2 years in a row.
At least 2 years in a row. I remember that as well. Yeah.
And they started to go, whoa, what's going on? And I think maybe it's like, dude, you just stripped everything out, knowing you're going to get, everybody's going to buy it. That's why I'm a little bit skeptical of 26. Like, I don't want to get on that train.
So my experience, I have a lot of faith in 26. I don't know if I would really buy anything after that because I'm hoping, okay, this was good, this was not good. And so, like, in sports games sometimes, like, when they find something that works, that second year, okay, this worked well, we could have tweaked this better. So usually that second year, once they've hit, they get it, like, zoned in, and then it becomes a rehash. So, like, look at wrestling games, look at NBA 2K. Like, when they brought the Jordan thing, that was so popular in 2K11 that then they started, like, okay, now next year will be Magic Johnson, and then the next year will be Larry Bird. And then they did the same thing with wrestling, where it was like WrestleMania's greatest hits, and then we're going to do one around Stone Cold, and then we're going to do one around, whoever's career, and the Undertaker's career.
Yeah.
And that's a cool concept. But then when you get to the fifth choice, you're just like, okay, great. Like, no offense, I really don't want to play, Doink the Clown's career, in WWE 2K29,
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, yeah, dude, I don't know, man. I just, the RPG aspects, I think, are what hooked me on it the most. And that's why I like to, so your guys get experience. And so let's just talk about our dynasty for a second. Let's talk about some of the things that we do, because this is what I was going to get at. I kind of hinted at it in the last podcast. So you automatically went in saying you're going to do recruiter, I'm assuming. Like, you knew that was what you wanted to do for your
Yes, it
archetype. Was. Yeah. And so are you all on recruiter? So if you want to say it, you don't have to say it.
No, I have no problem. You know what? This is where, I kind of gave some secrets away last night.
You gave a lot of secrets away last night.
So let's throw it all out there. I think I told you guys, I don't know if you guys heard me or not. So there's a reason I jumped ahead of you guys, and it was pure luck. So
what are you talking about? Jumped ahead, like with your
development,
development
coaching
team
style. Yeah. So basically, for the audience, okay. So we wanted a challenge. Even though Holliwood and Coastal really hadn't played the game much, we were like, "Yo, it's no fun in choosing Ohio State and Oregon and these super teams. Like, what's the fun in that? Like, the fun is building a team." So we chose the Sun Belt, which was the overall worst conference. And we're all from the South, so we're at
Southern Miss too.
We're all familiar with the teams.
I didn't pick them.
And I chose South Alabama. So I now, to Holliwood's credit, he followed suit. I think our original thing was 2 stars or less. It goes up to 5 stars. It goes up in half-star increments. You can't go lower than a 1 star. So I told them, I was like, I'm going to take a 1-star school. So I chose South Alabama for 3 reasons. 1, they were a 1-star school in the worst conference. Number 2, they have our high school colors, red, white, blue. Plus, I did 20 years in the military, so they look like our high school team. They're dope. Their uniforms are super dope. 3, they were very talented with a bunch of young freshmen. And I was like, well, if I'm going to get stuck with a bad team, let me just start with a bunch of bad freshmen and build them up over 2, 3, 4 years. And then at least they're my bad guys by the time they get to be their junior or senior year, because I developed them. And so, as Holliwood stated, he chose the Louisiana Raging Cajuns, who I believe was a 1-star. They might have been a 1.5.
I don't think they were 1. I can't remember personally.
And App State, Coastal chose App State. So once again, nobody had a better than a 2-star team starting off. We knew what we were getting into by doing this. But Where I got the heads up on you guys was pure luck. At the end of the season, I played very well. Give me credit. I think I went like 14-2. I won the Sun Belt. I got destroyed by LSU at LSU, and then I got destroyed by Ohio State. I didn't make the college football playoffs, amazingly, the first year, but I got absolutely ransacked by those guys. I think it was like 42-21 or something. But at the end of our first year, you can lose your coaches. Not just you, but you can also lose your defensive or your offensive coordinator. Well, I lost my offensive coordinator, and then they have a bunch of guys you can choose from. And I got lucky. So BYU's head coach was like maxed out, and he got fired for having a crappy year. I put in for him. I got him. And so basically I had a super leveled offensive coordinator for 3 years, which made life a lot easier for me when it came to everything else.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. Yeah, you recruit for sure. I mean, you're always like the top 3 recruiters, if not the number 1 recruiter. And I started that way, is doing the recruiting. And then I started. So there's like 5 or 6 different ones you can pick from, and you got to like meet certain requirements to continue on.
There's 3 to start with, and then that opens up 3 other subsets. And then if you do very well, then it actually opens up another 2 or 3. So like I'm the only one who has the option right now to do CEO. And like there's only like 3 CEO coaches. That was like Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, and like one other guy. I haven't even opened it up yet. Yeah. But I have the option because I've won multiple national championships.
There's not a whole lot other than the thing to where, which you can do this anyways. If somebody's, so you'll see those recruits, even in transfer portal, it'll say their intention. If their intention is you as their number 1 school, sometimes you can offer them a scholarship and they jump on it. Now you can, as the CEO, you can increase that odds of that happening.
Instant commit, an insane amount of percentage on that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but it'll happen anyway sometimes. Otherwise, you got to put a number of hours you want to spend. That you get, the more prestigious your school, the more hours you get to put to visit these people. So I started off as the recruiter, and so I guess I'm really just thinking about it now. I know where I'm at. I'm obviously in my thing, but I'm kind of, how do I get there? I think it had to do with the fact that, so never played it before. It takes some time. Remember I said I couldn't get past the Madden's tutorial. And when I was throwing, I would always just hold the button down and there was like just a bullet. And so I was getting picked off. I didn't think about lobbing it and all this, and didn't even move the control stick left and right to try to lead them or not. And so, and they would look wide open. And I even recorded some of these, and I showed them to you guys, and you're like, how did that guy, dude, this is what I live with right here.
Well, I'm laughing because, once again, I mean, you and Coastal don't realize how much you guys have improved. So your problem, remember, as I was giving you a hard time, I was like, hey, Holliwood, you can't run backwards at 50 miles per hour and then turn on a dime and try to throw the ball to
so it was all those ways. Yeah, but even so, that was just one. That was certain instances, right? For sure. Like little things. That was like year 3 or 4 or something.
I think it was like year 1 or 2, but yeah, I know what you're saying.
Well, you may have told me. I think you probably told me several times for me to understand it. But like, what the reason I was getting at this is because, so what did I do? I just started running the ball all the time. So then I got really good at running the ball, and that's the first time I beat you because I never passed. I passed probably like 2 times. So you run committed the whole time, and every time I passed, the guy was like wide open out there, so it's perfect. And so that was so crazy. And so I had a really good halfback. Well, then the halfback went pro. And guess what? I don't have any halfbacks anymore. I'm like, oh, no. So I said, let me get one of these receivers or something. A fast guy. I'd happened to get this dude named Martini.
There are a few guys in this game I hate. Martini is number 2 on my list, and we'll talk about when you create these guys for the audience there. So you get attached, you get emotionally attached. You find this guy, or in Holliwood's case, I don't want to steal the whole story, or you move a guy into a different position, and you create this beast of an animal.
Oh, he's a monster.
And like, the problem with Holliwood was we all knew exactly what he was going to do, and nobody could stop it. It did not matter. It was kind of like, I'm going to punch you in the throat. You're going to sit there, and you're going to smile about it.
there was a little bit of a cheat, right? It seemed because this guy was super fast, super acceleration because he was a wide receiver, and he had takeoff, which means sometimes he gets a jump if he's not covered. And I just needed somebody. Oh, it turns out this guy was just a 3-star, but he had the elite, the highest level of gaining XP the fastest that you can possibly do. I didn't even realize that. You had to tell me that when you looked at him. But he would get the ball in the back and just zoop to the outside, and he's gone. And nobody would catch him. You knew he was going to do it, and nobody could catch him. And that year, you were the only team that beat me. I think you beat me by 1 touchdown.
Yes, it was a shootout the entire game, and I think that game there were only 3 times where one of us didn't score, and it was like 2 turnovers, and then I think you went for it on like 4th and 30 and almost got it still. And I stopped your guy at like the 20, at 2 yards short or something like that.
Yeah. So slowly but surely I started adding passing to my game. All this to say, the reason that I switched from going from a recruiter is because of the running backs, and I was running. So what I would do was switch to motivator to keep them from getting injured, because I'm running this dude constantly. And so I said, okay, I got to adjust to my style. So I did that. That's an okay thing. I mean, it helps sometimes. So I got that. I started going a lot to recruiter. I do got a lot of recruiter on. I did recruiter, of course, for halfbacks and quarterbacks, and I think I got for pretty much all of them now. But and then I got motivator, and then I switched to, what is the yellow one? Motivator?
There's motivator, there's recruiter. I cannot think of the other one. Is
the
it like
blue one is the
scheme?
Or? Yeah, something like a, some guy, something. I think that's the
tactician.
Blue.
I think it's tactician.
That's the one that keeps them from getting hurt and keeps them motivated and stuff like that. But then I went to motivator, which gives my guys extra experience at the end of the year. So basically, while Swinging's recruiting the best players, I'm working the best possible way with what I already have. That was my whole secret. That now it's out to everybody, and now, but because I'm comfortable saying it now because it didn't work, because you're off, you're finally so my the highest I've been on offense is 92 or 91 or something like that. Overall, maybe a 90, maybe 89.
I think I've seen you 90, maybe 91, but I just
my
hit
defense
93.
Has been good usually. Yeah, so now he started the year 92, 94, 93 or something like that, whatever it was.
And I went up 1 so far this season, so I think it's 93, 95, 93 now.
So he's going up because he's got experience for his guys, and they're getting more experience. So
well, my secret was this, and once again, you have to understand your team. So I recruited, and I got everything up in recruiting, and then I went straight to motivator because my guys, I had gotten such good guys that I started needed to play those guys. But then I was getting good enough to where I was getting a decent enough lead against the computers, not so much against you guys, but when I played against computers, I could get a good lead. So by halftime or by the third quarter, I didn't have to worry about injuries. I just threw in my second string. But when I went with motivator, it was all training XP boost. So then those guys would get in, they'd have a great second half, and they got the XP boost. So where you were, in my opinion, where you or maybe other teams were one guy, 2 guys, 3 guys, I was just like everybody, hockey shift, like everybody go in, everybody get XP, and then it's kind of RNG at the end of the season. So sometimes the off-season boost, your guys might jump up 5 or 7 overall because you did actually play them. And another thing that's cool about this iteration versus any other ones is, and you and me have talked about this, is they're college kids. They're 18 to 22. So there's a composure level to it. So if you stick a 17, 18-year-old freshman quarterback on a road game at LSU and the crowd is going crazy, it doesn't matter that he was the best recruit in the nation that year, the year prior, as the number 1 recruit in the nation. He's scared. And if they get him picked off, if they pop him a couple times on a sack, he can't do anything.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, I mean, as you're saying that, I'm thinking about, kicking field goals and doing it, just kind of, and just thinking about the game I just played, because I didn't change out anybody. I had to get all my guys. All my guys are super young this year, so this is something I have to deal with, just like he's saying, with all the composure, with all the things like that, dropping pass. I mean, I dropped like 2 or 3 easy interceptions, and sometimes it's the game not wanting to get too far ahead, but a lot of times, sometimes they catch it all the time, and I think it's, my defense is really young. all my offense is young. I got a 5-star quarterback from Brookhaven, Mississippi.
Booyah!
Who's really good. And so as I'm playing these, just like as everybody is, as you're playing these computer teams, they're super fun, and you're also dialing in your best plays. You're dialing in your people, dialing in where they shine, and ready for these user games. And since we got 4 people, we got 3 user games, at least 3 a
At
season,
least,
the regular
yeah.
season, right? And so, but you almost like if you're listening to this, and it's just a regular HnK fan that doesn't play sports games, but you play RPGs, it's literally like when I think of my good running back or my good quarterback, I'm ready to go out there and get him experience. When he breaks off for a 50-yard run or a touchdown, you're like, oh, good. It's just like killing a boss or something.
So not so much in our dynasty. So me and Paige and Eric have a military dynasty. So I have the Air Force, Paige has the Navy, and Eric has the Army. And so I recruited 2 running backs one year. One was the best running back in the nation, like an 83 overall true freshman coming out, and one was a 65, but 3-star. But he had elite development. And I did what I just told you. I would play that guy 3/4 of the game, and then I would put the 63 in for the last quarter of the game. Sophomore year, the one guy went from 83 to 85. That 63 jumped up to 81.
Yeah.
And so it's when you play these games, you want to see the guys you recruit do well, but it's those like out of nowhere, like, yo, dude, I almost didn't even choose this guy, and now he's the anchor of my team. He's the best player, or he just won the Heisman and just set the NCAA record in rushing yards, or whatever the case may be. And that's where you get hooked. Besides the emotional, so for those who are listening, like, I mean, once again, we're not emotional, like, oh my God, I'm going to cry because I lost a game, but like, when I've lost it, I lost twice last season. Like, I was not mad at either one of the. I tip my hat. Those guys played great games, especially not saying this because I'm on the podcast, but Holliwood. He took out some frustration in that one game against me, the last one we played in the regular season. But I tip my hat to those guys, and you just kind of get motivated. Like, I'm going to get them next time. And if you win, it's such a euphoric. It's like a chess match. It's a chess. Except for Coastal. So here's the secret weapon with Coastal Minority. He is the mad bomber. He is the crazy magician, because you cannot prepare for App State because App State doesn't know what App State's going to do. So
yeah, it's so fun to play the users, because then you really see how good your team is doing, right? Because the computer sometimes, I lost one. I've already lost to the number 2 TCU this year. And a lot of times those games tend to, you'll get a couple of we're playing on All-American, so that's the second hardest. Heisman's the hardest, and you're going to get a team that you're going to be back and forth, and if you mess up, they'll win right at the end or whatever, and they'll get just a little bit out of range. Like I was down by a touchdown. They had a minute left, and they were on the 30-yard line, kicked the field goal. Let me let this cat in real quick.
No problem.
It's Bombay, my cat. So he's sitting there mewing at the door. And so anyway, yeah. So you we talk about you'll lose a couple. So I lost one. So now I didn't mean I'm not going to be in the playoffs, but I'm going to have to earn it now. But usually your losses will come to a user, so you have to. You want to be 0 going into the user game, so you can lose 1 or 2, because you lost 2 and you still got into the playoffs and won the whole thing, right?
Well, this is where I won the whole thing. This is where it gets weird, though, and this is where it's like real life. So if you and Paige played each other the last game of the season, you both only had 1 loss in the conference. At this point, I've lost to both of you. If Paige would have won, he would have won the conference,
and then I would have gone into me and him would have gone.
You two would have gone, and I would not have made the playoffs, because I
thought about that after. I could have strategically lost, and then I wouldn't have to play.
Strategically
lost.
Have
to play swinging again. But it's all about the winning the user games. That's what's so fun about it to me. And you're like, oh man, I'm a little nervous to play, because you don't know what's going to happen, and it's so great. You get a pick. It feels like you're watching. Your team just got a pick. This is a big deal. You get a couple of touchdowns ahead. And it's just like so I'll tell you what I've learned real quick, man. You really get a perspective of what it feels like in a game. Yeah, because I played like high school football. Well, I didn't play high school. I played junior high. I didn't play high school football. I quit after I didn't play ninth grade. I didn't play in ninth grade. I don't think. But if I did, I didn't go past that. But you really get a perspective of these teams, what it feels like to be down. You know, and when you feel helpless sometimes, what we're doing is not working. What are we going to do different? Our defense is not working. Do we switch it up, or do we just go, we can't stop them? You know, you really and it's like that with a computer. You might be playing zone. What turns out if you just played man, or it turns out if they're going to run most of the time or whatever. I will say this after that. Well, I will say this real quick about the game. I still believe this, and I want to record it one time to see if I'm right. So when you line up in a zone, there's other things you can do. You can tell your guys to play outside, say, hey, you can tell them, hey, well, I think it's going to be a pass. I'm going to play outside. What that does is it protects, as long as you get the proper defense, from somebody throwing it over the top, a bomb. But if you can also put run up the middle. What I usually do in some of these in these big teams, I'll pick over the top pass, right? So I'll do this for some of these teams, especially if I'm up, constantly, and I'll do it the whole game. And 2 times when I did TCU, 2 times I picked run up the middle when it was like 3rd and 1, and they go over the top. So when you pick run up the middle, your defense does not change. This is just you telling your guy, so they don't move, so they can't see it and go, okay, they're looking for a blitz. There's nothing that changes except for the input that you tell your guys. And so you got to be kidding me, you think the computer doesn't change at last minute.
There's some rubber banding. I do agree with you on that.
Man,
100%.
I hate that. I don't trust it.
No,
I don't trust it.
I get what you're saying. Well, I told you, and see, you're not in the other dynasty with us. Like,
I'm listening while you do it. I got to close this door.
You're good. So, the Air Force dynasty, I think or the military dynasty, I think we're going into season 7 now. And the last 4 years, I've either been undefeated or 1 loss going into the college football playoffs. And up until this last year, I actually won the whole thing. I would run into a buzzsaw. Like, nobody could stop me. I'm blowing teams out the entire season, not a single close game. I get in the college football playoffs, and Texas just messes me up, you know, and it's just like, you mean to tell me that I've been able to do all this all year, and I get in the college football playoff, and I can't do a single thing right? Like,
yeah. I don't know, man. I had all impact players on my offensive line except for one. Which, by the way, the guy on the right of the center, is that the right guard?
It's right guard.
Yeah,
Tackles on the furthest out, yeah.
Yeah, he's the only one that's not a star, and he's probably a 90-something.
He's a 91 overall. The fact that he's not a star is more amazing to me.
And, dude, these other people were just running over me, and I'm like, what is going on? Now, it adapts to how you play, too. Even when you practice, have you noticed this? When you put your practice plays in your own little stadium and your own – your team will, because you're going to run the same play over and over until you change a play. They'll adapt to it. It seems like.
So they do adapt, and I mean that's a cool thing. And I had a little brain fart I wasn't going to say, but yeah, the game, the computer can be it's a little rubber banding effect. I mean, for sure. Like, even the game you were just talking about, like, you beat them 90-something to 7. It was almost like the game's like, okay, you're not shutting us out. We're gonna get a score whether you like it or not.
Yeah, that's right. Another thing that they do, that I feel like they do, I really do believe this, and this is what happens. This is what happened to me. If you get flustered, it's really gonna make you pay, and that's just the human nature of it. But if you're winning like by 2 touchdowns and it's 45 seconds in the half, and they expect you to just kind of run the clock out, and you throw a bomb to try to score. The game hates that, and they will make you pay. If sometimes they'll and if you do anything like that, or if it's 4th and 25 and
you go for it and get it,
you go for it. Yeah, they don't expect you to do that either. Now you can still do it and get away with it sometimes, but that's when I've seen the most rubber banding. It's just trying to show you like you will pay, and then you can't say it's rubber banding. I said, dude, you went with it. You were on your own 20-yard line, and you went for it on 4th down, and you were already up. Why would you do that?
Well,
It's like doing an onside kick for the opening kickoff. It really pisses the game off.
I love playing against computer, but I love, like you said, I love playing users. So the interesting thing, like I said, specifically you and Coastal, because you guys were starting this kind of afresh and moving on, is like I had two completely different strategies for you versus Paige. Paige is an experienced player. So for him, the most insulting thing I can do to Paige, 14 play, 87-yard drive, took up a quarter and a half, just basically talking smack to him like, yo, I'm running it. Yo, I'm going to get a first down. Yo, Paige, you can't stop this. With you, initially, I wanted to get in your head. Over the top, first play, 80-yard boom. Hey, Marcus, you're down 7-0. 6 seconds has gone off the game clock. Come get me. Come find me. And
it works, man.
It's
especially when I didn't know how to defend it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to defend those things at the time either. And like, so you have to learn that, and then you my run, just like the run, everybody had to commit to the run. When I played Huff, who quit later, but he likes to demolish you. And it was like 62-40, and with 2 minutes left in the game. And I just went to kneel, and I was going to, run the clock out and just let everybody save face. Well, he was calling timeouts. There's no way he's going to win. I said, okay. And I just handed it to Martini. He's gone. Very next play, all the way in. And then I intercepted it again and ran it in, and then I got it again. So I ended up scoring 21. So it was 80-something to 60 or 40 or whatever.
Well,
it was so funny. Man.
That's the thing about playing with a bunch of guys that you're super cool with. Because, somebody could have got –
Chris quit.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, he just moved on to a different game. It's not so. Just so everybody know, like Chris Huff did an incredible job. He took Southern Miss over halfway through the season. Very next year, he was in the Natty. Very next year, he was in the national championship. He had a great run at Southern Miss. But what I love, going back to what you're talking about, like I try to be. That's why I'm saying I'm the goat. I'm the dragon. Like I'm in my villain stage because I try to play sportsmanlike, but like my boy Coastal. It was the same thing. Like, I think I had him almost shut out. And I was just like, okay, bud, like, great game. It's like a minute left. And I'm winning. I don't know. It wasn't insane, but it was, 35-0, 28-0. Like, he's not scoring 4 touchdowns in a minute, right? No, I ain't gonna look like a punk in front of the other boys. I'm getting at least a score. Throws the ball. I pick it off, pick 6. Now it's 35-0. Eric, kneel the ball. No, bro, I got you this time.
Oh my gosh, yeah, dude. He that was so fun to Chris really helped me. And when you're talking about that, every game you play, so a lot of people might think that it's so complicated, I'm not going to bother with it, right? Like, or it's too complicated, I can't quite figure it out. They got coach suggestion plays and stuff like that, but. You learn every play, just like you were saying. If you beat me, you're like, oh, dude, all I had to do was pass it because he was just committed to the run. All I had to do was play over the top. Chris would always wait till the end and go, here's what you should have done. So he would always tell me. And then you're like, let's go back and play again because I would have stopped it, then of course that person adjusts and you just keep back and forth.
Well, I mean, because we have a friendly thing, we want the other teams to be good and play well. And like, once again, I'm never going to give you guys a win, but I'm not mad when I see you guys win. I was really hoping you would win the Natty that one year. And then sometimes that one mistake will haunt you. And I'm bringing up a bad memory there for you, Holliwood. So the Raging Cajuns and the Jaguars made the Natty 2 seasons ago. And it is a back and forth game. And I want to say I went up by 2 touchdowns and you had the ball. And it's like fourth quarter, 3 minutes left in the game. You have the ball. You're making a good drive. And you hit the wrong button.
That was last year.
It was last year. I went on a blitz. That dude was wide open and it was the wrong guy.
Yeah, that would have made it a different game, man.
It made it a complete. So, and that's the thing that you learn lessons through every game, and then like you said, like it's going back and like what, I should have ran the ball more, or what, I should have took my time, or I should have done this, or I should have done that, and then you learn. And you said it in the previous podcast, but both the other Chris's, Paige and Huff, are probably top tier, not just in our dynasty, but across the community of figuring out what you're doing on when you're on offense and they're on defense. They're great at reading what you're doing and figuring out how to stop it. And they're both outstanding on offense at reading your defense, identifying the weakness, and exploiting it.
Yeah. They know like right away. I mean, they'll call your defense out and they'll audible. So it's a lot to that. So they're doing that, and then they got you. Of course, you can user. What we call it when you get control of one guy. Paige is a master, and you guys all are better. I don't use her a whole lot, and so there's ways to play. I mean, I always seem to play the defensive line because even that's not the way the masters play, but it's the most fun. And so that's why I do it. And so, it's like talking about hitting the wrong button. I mean, it's part of it is your mental. Like I know I'm playing the Dragons. Why we call them the Dragons? So we just did this because I beat you the regular season last year. I was excited about playing in the national championship. I made some mental mistakes. I think I intercepted your first drive.
Very first
scored.
Play. No, it was the very first.
Okay.
I got the ball first. Very first play, you picked it off and took it to like the 10-yard line. And in my mind, I'm like, oh gosh, here we go again. Because the previous game, I threw 5 interceptions.
Yeah. And so people, so that's kind of your thing. So, okay, well, they know the Cajuns, you better be careful passing against the Cajuns or whatever. And so that's a good thing. So that's something I can use. But this guy that I'm playing, Swinging, has won every year, right? So I know I have to capitalize. I can't make a mistake. And these are things where you're like, oh, well, that's just in every game. But man, I'm sure it's in every game, but you feel it. I mean, I get excited. I'm glad I win. It bothers me a little bit when I lose. You're like, oh man, I wish I would have just won that game, or if I'd have just done this, like we said. And you want it back, but it's gone.
Well, I think the thing is, going back to like it kind of puts you in the feeling of the players, but when it gets to the playoffs, I don't know what it is, honestly, because I'm playing the game, so I'm not analyzing it, but it feels there's something they do to make it feel more amped up. I don't know if they pump in more like crowd noise, or there's a different script when the announcers are talking versus the normal regular games. But there's a different, even for me, I mean, because the flip side of that is to you guys is for me is I'm the big bad wolf. I have to win. I'm expected to win. So when I go down 7-0 or I go down 14-0, and then it's just like, it's which pressure's on you. Is it your pressure as the underdog to beat me finally because you have a chance?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it my pressure to be the big bad wolf and it's expected for me to win?
Yeah, I mean, when you start the momentum in the game, they've said some momentum means so much in the game, and it's true, it does. Your players play better and everything, but also to you as a player, if somebody's like when me and Paige played last year, he started I got up like pretty high on him, like 14-0 or something like that, and it kept going back and forth. So I was comfortable with a 2-touchdown lead. Well, then he started coming back. I think he actually tied me. I don't remember. I think he did tie me, but that's a huge crush on like your soul as a player. So the momentum, what I'm getting at is the momentum, even in my mind, he's got the momentum. So, and I'm losing momentum. So now I'm starting to worry. Maybe it throws me off my game. Maybe I'm not playing the game I usually play to try to get that back and make him the guy on the ropes instead of me. But, so that messes with you. The game is super in depth like that. I mean, that's what's so fun about this game. And I never thought I'd be, into like a sports game. Now, I've said it before, and I don't know why I necessarily say it other than it just kind of blows my mind that I really wouldn't even be playing it unless they played it. And so when you think of a game like that, it's okay, well, he's just kind of playing it and hang out with his friends. I love playing the Dynasty. I'm amped up, ready to go, look forward to it every time I got to play a game, whether it's a user or not. And check out the recruiting list, see how we did it. Anybody commit to the school? So it's crazy for a game that I would not even play. But I guess I would the same way with like Call of Duty too. But that's more because I do like hanging out. Not so much. I'm not excited about the war zone as much as I am at these games.
It's a different. I don't want to use the word addiction, but it's a different type of hook. And so to think about that, we bought this game in July. It is January of the next year. And we are still playing at almost the same frequency. Now, granted, we're all grown men with children, with families, with jobs. So, I mean, we're not as young as we used to be, but I would say, and then like you've had work stuff, Coastal's had work stuff, Paige has work stuff, so do I. You guys have done some business trips, etc. But, as soon as we get back into it, I mean, we've played 130 games plus in this dynasty. That's insane when you think about it. It's insane that we've been playing this for 6 going on 7 months consistent.
Yeah. And so, dude, I've really enjoyed it. We're about coming to the end here, but I'm so glad we're doing it. I'm glad you guys are playing. I'm glad you guys are all still interested. I'm still interested, and we got the dragon because, well, look, if I beat Swinging in the national championship, I've already slayed the dragon. Now I got nothing to look forward to. It's always fun to let, where you got a challenge. At least I like it that way, to try to build up to. It's like, okay, now I got the big game. Now it's my chance to see if what I've worked for all season has paid off or not.
Well, it's not only that. I think the crazier thing is if you don't stay consistent, anybody can topple anybody. So Coastal's had a definitely above average career at Appalachian State. And he's just like he'll win 2 users and lose 2 user games or whatever. He'll go 10-2, he'll go 9-3. This year he's number 6 in the nation. He's undefeated. Yep. And it's just like real life. Sometimes it just clicks. No offense, Ohio State, Notre Dame being in the national championship in real life yesterday, not surprising. TCU, while they did get blown the doors off of 2 or 3 years ago, TCU does not make the national championship every year. And so sometimes it all lines up. Sometimes you have that magical season. Sometimes you find that magical player that can lead you over the top. Or maybe you just hit that zone for those 2 weeks we're playing that season, and everything you do is the right choice, and you can't lose. And so I think, and it's just the same hook that gets you when you're watching real life football. Like, is this my team's year? Can we do it? Whereas in this one, you're actually the one controlling it. But so the interesting thing with you guys is you're doing what I did 2 years ago. All 3 of you have very young teams. I now have the seasoned team. So you would expect for me to play better than the 3 of you. Doesn't mean you guys don't have the talent and the young guns to pull off the win. So sometimes, once again, so if all my guys go pro next year, I didn't set up everything correctly. Maybe I didn't practice my second string. So I just went from, let's say I win the national championship this year, and all my guys go pro. And now I have nothing but freshmen that I never used, and now I just went from being the top team to I'm the worst team in the conference because I didn't prepare. Or maybe App State pulls off a miracle, and it's their season. It's crazy how every game and every season can change.
Yeah, and when you don't have the pressure to win, now you can do these crazy plays. And you might not go to the championship, but you're going to keep somebody else from going. You still got that power, and that's almost better sometimes. And so it is a lot of fun, man. I'm glad we're playing, and I look forward to keep playing. I'm hoping I can get on right now, and then we've advanced. But I don't know. I think I'm hoping against all hope there.
I don't know. I think Paige just finished his game, so I don't know if no. I think we should be good because I think you and me had buys this week, didn't we?
No, I had to play FCS.
Oh well, 2 of us had buys.
You had to play somebody else had to play FCS too.
I had a buy, and I think Paige had a buy. So hypothetically, if Eric played his game earlier and you've already played yours, then we should be good. It should have. No, I think Coastal said it advanced, so I haven't checked.
Okay, cool. Well, hope you guys like this. If you like sports games, you already know about this game. If you don't, maybe you want to check it out. At least if you got some people that are playing it and you are thinking about it on the fence, I highly recommend doing it. If you don't got anybody playing it, maybe just let it go. Find somebody to run with a group. But anyway, thank you all for listening. Check us out, HnKEXP.com. Swinging. It's a pleasure, man. Love having you on.
Hey, thanks for having me. Thunder, Goat, Dragon out.
Yeah. Later.
I gets money.